Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode where I want to talk a little bit about menopause. And you'll see there is a link between gut health and menopause, and this is largely because a lot of the women that I work with are going through the transition of menopause, and they have all these weird, wonderful symptoms. Gut health certainly plays a part, and so I thought what I would do is just talk about some of the things that can actually help. So menopause can be a turbulent experience. It can also be hugely transformative because it's a chance to really evaluate and recalibrate, reset the way that we have lived and the way we want to live. Now, hormones fluctuate naturally all the time, particularly our reproductive hormones. And the reproductive hormones also tend to drop as we get to menopause, but those hormones are still active in our body. We still make those hormones in other parts of our body because they have such important roles. It's just one of those roles is no longer reproduction when we get to a certain age. So hormones themselves aren't necessarily the problem. It's always estrogen excesses, the deficiency. There's a problem with my estrogen. People take supplements and herbs to try and balance their hormones. But sometimes it's not actually the hormones that are the problem. Hormones are actually, well, they're chemical messengers in our body. But if there's an imbalance, they're really giving us a message that there are imbalances elsewhere in our lives. I kind of think that sometimes our hormones are actually, particularly our reproductive hormones in menopause, they're actually like the canary in the mine. So rather than swapping the canary for something else, to try and deal with the fact that the canary is dead, we should really look at, well, what made the canary die in the first place? What made our hormones imbalanced? Something did. It didn't happen naturally. We're meant to decline in those hormones. That's a natural process. So when they decline or there is an imbalance, then it's usually because it's reflecting an imbalance somewhere else. That's what we deal with first. So here are some tips that I'm hoping can help with that transition of menopause and help to manage the symptoms, and hopefully by balancing these things out, that will also balance out those hormones so that they can fluctuate in the natural way they're meant to. So the number one thing is to eat a balanced diet of fats, proteins and carbohydrates. And I know that's really dull and boring, but it's really important because it ensures you feel full. So you are less likely to snack on foods that aren't so great for us. It will mean that you have a stable blood sugar, you'll have better energy and a better mood. And it's really important that you have carbohydrates, fats and proteins at every meal, and they're good quality carbohydrates and good quality fats. So if you make sure that you have your fats, your proteins and your carbohydrates at every single meal, that will stabilize lots of things. The best forms of carbohydrate are vegetables, fruit, whole grains. So that's your wheat, barley, oats, quinoa, buckwheat, rice and millet, assuming you don't have any problems with grains or with gluten. But they are the best forms of carbohydrate because they take time to break down. They don't give you a quick rush of blood glucose. And a lot of them are also food for our gut bacteria, which is really important. And they're also fiber, so that helps to keep things moving in our gut. The best forms of protein are your lean meats if you're not vegetarian, and poultry and fish, eggs, nuts, seeds. Soy products are actually really important for us when we hit our 40s and 50s. So things like tofu, tempeh, miso, really important. Legumes, that's your beans and your peas, your lentils, your grains. Mix your grains and your legumes in order to get a quality protein. And you need to eat around 30 grams of protein every meal, roughly, to ensure that your body has the building blocks to function fully. So that's the amount of protein. 90 grams a day, roughly, will mean that we actually thrive. As we age, our muscle mass and our bone strength can decline. And this is associated with a reduction of estrogen. So actually eating a good amount of protein can counteract that. Best forms of fat, olive oil. Number one best form of fat is olive oil. Flaxseed, fish oils, fish themselves with all the lovely oils inside the fish, avocados, nuts, seeds, and a little bit of butter and a little bit of coconut oil. And coconut oil is okay if you don't have any gut symptoms at all. Sometimes it can cause more of a problem. Your omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids, are anti-inflammatory. So there has been some research to show that they can actually decrease the frequency and the severity of hot flushes and night sweats. So your omega-3 essential fatty acids are found in oily fish, and flaxseed oil, amongst other things as well. So that's just a basic run through. So that's your absolutely foundation 101. The next thing I would say is to make sure that you're eating enough fruit and veg. So I know that it's the daily 5, three lots of serves of veggies and 2 serves of fruit, but actually it should be a bit more. So 2 serves of fruit, but around 5 to 7 servings of vegetables would be even better. That ensures you're getting enough vitamins and minerals and plant nutrients, because there are some really important plant nutrients I'll talk about in a minute that are really important for that hormone balance. And there's been quite a few studies actually that show that menopausal women who eat lots of vegetables and some fruit and some soy experience fewer hot flushes, and also might reduce the risk of post-menopausal health conditions such as heart disease and certain cancers. And there's loads of studies to show that eating around anywhere between 5 up to 9 serves of vegetables a day can actually promote health and promote longevity and reduce the risk of quite a few chronic disorders as well, largely because of those nutrients, the vitamins and the minerals, and also because it's fiber, and also because it's helping to feed our good bacteria. So that's my number 2, easy thing to do. Now, calcium is important for postmenopausal women because deficiency increases the risk of osteoporosis. Now, estrogen is really important for strong bones. Now, we get to our bone density, our bone strength peak when we're really in our 20s. So that's the best time to be making sure that you're eating a really good diet with lots of fruit and veg and lots of calcium. Unfortunately, we don't always do that in our 20s. We tend to think more about what we eat and how we live when we hit our 40s. So as we get older, our bone density actually decreases. And when estrogen declines, along with the reduced calcium, then we can end up with more bone loss. It can exacerbate bone loss. So it's really important that we are really careful the amount of calcium we have when we're in our 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s to counterbalance the loss of bone that we've got. But the earlier we could do that, the better. So dairy products do contain a really good amount of calcium and other bone boosting nutrients. Not everyone can actually absorb that calcium. So if you know you have a problem with dairy, or dairy does not like you as much as you like it, then there are other places you can get calcium, and that's like broccoli, bok choy, small bony fish such as sardines. And soy also has some really absorbable calcium in it. So you can get your calcium from other places. If you're taking a supplement, then you need about 1,000 milligrams, 1,500 milligrams if you're postmenopausal, and make sure you get calcium and magnesium together. Calcium, magnesium, boron, vitamin D, vitamin K, they're all really important for bone health. Next thing I want to talk about is phytoestrogens, or plant estrogens. Now, these are specific chemicals or compounds that are found in plants that help to modulate estrogen in the body. And they do that by selectively binding onto receptors. So receptors are a bit like doors. So you've got your cell, and on your cell you have lots and lots of doors, and those doors let certain chemicals into the cell so that certain things happen. And estrogen is one of those things that has its own door, that has a couple of doors that opens up, allows estrogen in the cell, and then estrogen will usually stimulate things, or sometimes it can calm things down within a cell and tells the cell what to do. Now, plant estrogens are really clever because they can open those doors and they can pretend to be estrogen. They're actually called selective estrogen receptor modulators, because they actually open the doors and they can pretend to be estrogen, and they will either tell the cell there's enough estrogen, carry on, it's all great, or they can block certain estrogen to stop that from stimulating growth in a cell. So they're really, really clever. And there's been some studies that show they might reduce the incidence of hot flushes. And so plant estrogens that particularly well known are things like flax seeds, lentils, soy again, particularly soybeans, chickpeas, peanuts, barley, grapes, plums, pears, apples, grapes, berries, sprouts, cabbage, spinach, onion, wine, tea. They all have plant estrogens. That doesn't mean you have lots and lots of wine or tea, but pretty much most plants will have these plant estrogens. But I'd say flax seeds, lentils, soy generally have the biggest amount. So think about whether you're getting enough of those plant estrogens in your diet. And what it will either do is, if you have too much estrogen circulating, it can help to modify that by telling the body that it's okay, we don't need all that estrogen, you don't need to use that estrogen in the cell. And if we don't have enough, it will pretend to be estrogen. So they're really clever. The next thing is your gut health. Now, this is extremely important. So hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they are all influenced by the health of the gut. And the gut influences the hormones as well. So eating fiber and prebiotic foods, so these are the foods that are fuel for our good bacteria, really, really key. So fiber can help to ensure that excess estrogen and other wastes are removed from the body. And the prebiotic foods will basically fuel the good bacteria, which create short-chain fatty acids, which are crucial to a healthy gut and a healthy body. Really amazing research coming about how important short-chain fatty acids are to our whole health. So fiber and prebiotic rich foods are basically found in legumes, grains, vegetables, oats, berries, bananas, asparagus, onions, leeks, garlic, lots and lots of different foods. Plant foods. Next thing is love your liver. So alcohol in particular affects estrogen's detoxification and removal. And this can cause symptoms like your hot flushes and migraines. So we need to be really careful about how much alcohol we drink. So sometimes try things like kombucha or kefir in a wine glass and pretend it's wine. Eating a whole food rich diet will make sure that your liver has all of the nutrients it needs in order to carry out its detoxification of estrogen and cholesterol. So I can talk more about this another time because I'm obviously just giving you the top tips, but looking after your liver is really important, giving it the nutrients it needs and just really being careful about how much alcohol you have. So like 1 unit a day of wine, 100 mils of wine a day, absolute most, because of the pressure it puts on the liver, and it will prioritize alcohol over getting rid of estrogen. And so estrogen just recycles. Other things that are really important to consider, particularly if you're going into menopause or you're having any symptoms, getting a good sleep is really important because our body needs to sleep to repair and recover. So melatonin, serotonin, and estrogen, melatonin being our sleep hormone, serotonin being our happy hormone, serotonin turns into melatonin. They're all related. So when one is low, the others get affected too. So when estrogen declines, it actually has a knock-on effect with serotonin and melatonin. Now, your diet will make sure that you have the building blocks to make those hormones, but sleeping well, making sure that you have a routine, that you wind your body down, that you turn off devices, that you do something relaxing before you go to sleep, will actually help to improve your mood and that estrogen balance. Stress is massive. So stress can cause complete havoc with all our hormones. Cortisol is made at the expense of our reproductive hormones. If our body thinks that we are chronically stressed, reproduction is right down the bottom of the list. So not only will stress affect our gut health, which affects our hormones, but it will actually stop us producing those reproductive hormones at the amounts we need because cortisol is being produced as a priority. So finding ways to keep calm, to de-stress, to do something that gives you joy, that is fun, that is really, really important. One of the ways you can de-stress is to move your body. So maintaining your weight, balancing those stress hormones through moving. When we move, we're actually getting rid of those stress hormones by actually moving. It's like the running away from the tiger. It helps to strengthen our bones, which will protect us from osteoporosis going forward. It will help prevent heart disease in the future. It increases testosterone, which is really important for our motivation and energy. Sometimes our fatigue and our flatness and if you just kind of feel blur, that can sometimes be because we have low testosterone, because women make testosterone. So moving our body and doing like weight training can actually increase our testosterone, which will improve our mood, will improve our energy, and will help with our sleep, which in turn helps our estrogen. The last thing I want you to think about is about foreign estrogens in our environment. So there are chemicals. I'm sure you've all heard of BPA. So chemicals like BPA mimic estrogen, and they can cause unpleasant symptoms such as hot flushes. They also have been associated with other serious conditions. So be really careful about the chemicals in your environment. Now, we're exposed to chemicals all the time. There's only so much we can do. But at least, using glass rather than plastic. Don't use pump water bottles. Actually go and buy a glass water bottle and fill up your water from a tap. That in itself can be a problem because of the chemicals in water, so a good filter is really important. Don't microwave in plastic. Don't use cling film. Be careful with aluminium foil. Be careful with perfumes. There's lots of chemicals in our sanitary products, in our toiletries, in our makeup. Start to be really careful about the products you use on yourself and in your house. Go and have a look at the Environmental Working Group's website and find out a bit more about the types of products that are safe and the types of products that are what we call endocrine disruptors. They actually muck about with our hormones and our cells and can cause huge amount of damage inside. So go and have a look at the Environmental Working Group's website. I encourage you to be curious about any symptoms that you have. Reflect on the reasons. Are there any areas of your life that need some attention? Your diet, your lifestyle, your mindset. How do you feel about yourself? Are you excited about getting older? Do you love yourself? Do you look at yourself and think, oh, I'm awesome? Think about that and look at what you can actually change in those areas before you start looking at changing your hormones. Because usually if you look at your diet, you change your lifestyle, you change the way you think, your hormones will naturally find their balance anyway. Menopause is an opportunity to make the changes that will ensure a healthier and happier future. This is your time. This is the universe giving you a shake and saying, now is your time. So be brave and start creating the life that you really want. I hope that helps. And I'll see you all soon. Let me know. Let me know what you've learned. Let me know what you're going to do. Let me know what changes you're going to make. Take care.